I'm trying to see am I live on Instagram because I can't tell. Hmm. Peace, Brooke. Wa alaikum salam, Mr. Jamil Muhammad. How are you? It's good to see your face. Well, not your, well, yeah, your face. It's good to see you in my chat room. I feel like we haven't talked in 50 years. You know what I mean? And that's a problem, but we can talk about that at another time. How you doing, Miss Ice Goddess? Peace and love. What's good, family? How y'all doing? I'm going to give it a minute for everybody to tap in with us, and then checking Facebook and Instagram because I don't normally go live on all the platforms at the same time. So I'm just trying to see if I'm live on Facebook and Instagram. If anybody's watching me from Facebook or Instagram, tap in and let me know. Oh, yeah, I am live on Facebook. Okay. So that works. Let me just double check Instagram. Peace, UFO. Peace, Steve. How you doing? Peace and love, Queen Amina. What's good? Uh, I guess I have to be live if I'm live on Facebook, right? It doesn't even show me. I guess I'll just wait and see. The chat will should tell me. Let me see. Can I post comments to some destinations? Okay, yes, it says I'm live on Instagram. So maybe Instagram and Facebook, you can't leave comments. I don't know. So it might be better for you guys to tap in with me on YouTube if you want to actually join the conversation. Otherwise, of course, you can always just listen and, and tap in. But I want to give it a few minutes, couple of minutes, just to let everybody kind of chime in. To everyone else, peace. If you love truth, I love you. That's Brother Jamil Muhammad. Peace. Okay. Hameen, thank you so much for tapping in on Facebook so I can see the Facebook comments. So that's wonderful. I posted the StreamYard link for my members on YouTube and for my members from my membership channel if you guys want to actively join the conversation. I don't have any specific topic I want to cover today. It's been a while since I just went live. I guess I should call this the Ask Me Anything live. Because, yeah, this is the time for you guys to set the tone for the conversation, what you guys want to give my opinion and perspective on and all that good stuff. You see, I'm growing my hair back out, so I'm in the weird phase right now. So I'm trying to keep it kosher, but it's a struggle. Pretty soon you're gonna see me pop up with some twists or some braids for sure. Because when you have short hair, me, I neglect. I won't say I neglect it, but I can wash my hair every day. I can, rock the curls and then walk outside without having too much maintenance. So, yeah, thank you, Freddie B. I appreciate that. That's the one meal a day. That's the fasting. That's the vegan, plant-based diet. That's the focus on my breathing. That's the herbs and supplements I take consistently. Walaikum salam, King. How you doing? What's good to everybody in the chat room? I appreciate you guys for joining me. I never take for granted that I can turn my camera on and go live. And if 5 people show up, to me, that's a dope thing. 5 people from around the world or wherever you are, I'll never, I'll never take that for granted. Jamil said it's giving 1930s ultragram, wholeheartedly approved. Well, I appreciate that coming from you, and especially because you be having jokes, you know what I mean? So you guys probably, well, I know some of you guys know Brother Jamil Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, who is a very long-standing, wonderful representative of the teachings of Elijah Muhammad, and that goes without saying. But he is also very funny, and I have had the pleasure of getting to know him over the years, and have a tremendous amount of love and respect for him. But his sense of humor is something that you guys know I got jokes, you know what I mean? So I take even in my presentations and my lectures, I understand the importance of being able to lighten the mood when you're talking about serious subjects, or just, laughter is food for the soul. So I'm always going to crack a joke. And especially if somebody starts, trying to troll me or trying to get under my skin, then that's prime real estate, for me to make an example out of you. So don't try me, But yeah, peace and blessings always, family. That's Randy. Peace and blessings to everyone on the live feed this evening and your families. And yes, for sure, Sister Amina. Yeah, I've known Jamil Muhammad for a very long time. Yeah, that's my brother, But he's very witty and he's quick on the draw with the comedy, So take a moment, you guys, and think about what's going on in the world, and think about what's going on in the culture. And this would be the time to actually ask that for my members on YouTube and my members in my membership channel. You guys should have the link to actually join the live stream and join the conversation if you would like to. But this is going to be about, where you guys are, what you want to focus on and tap in on. I've posted 3 videos in the last couple of days. The triggers and anxiety video has gotten a lot of very positive feedback and people sharing. This little piece of hair right here is throwing me off. Hold on. Y'all probably can't even see it, but I can. You see that? Yeah, we're not doing that. Okay, there we go. The triggers and anxiety video has gotten a lot of very positive feedback and people sharing, their testimony and things that they've been through, which I appreciate. And I because I know that a lot of people are really struggling right now, I try to continuously put up content like that. It doesn't get anywhere near the numbers. Well, that video is, the numbers are significant, but you talk about celebrities, you talk about trending topics, and you talk about other things, and you can easily, that's the cheat code to the algorithm. Unfortunately for me, I'm not really interested in a lot of the stuff of this world, but you do have to, play the game to get the algorithm work in your favor. But those type of topics, whether it be helping people to overcome that type of stuff, or whether it's just the power of the mind, energy, frequency, energetic resonance. Those are the things that I would much more be interested in talking about and focusing on. So hopefully we can kind of hone in on some of that today. Big ZaZa. I'll take that, Rico. You know what I mean? As long as you ain't trying to say I'm puffy or overweight or anything. That's a joke. But yeah, I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here. Much love and good evening to you, Khalif, as well. I see you representing the black cube, aka depending on who you ask. Well, I was going to say the stone the builders rejected. That actually could be applicable, but it's not actually technically directly applicable. But yeah, peace, society. I hope you come in peace this particular day. I think you always come in peace. I think you just like getting under my skin, But I'm happy to have you here and happy to have all of you guys here. Let me know, like I said, if you guys want to ask me anything. I did get a question from our YouTube members, one of our YouTube members, about the circumstances with Mr. Umar Johnson, people wanting my perspective on that. And I had a plan to do a video on that, but I've just been too focused on some other things. But if you guys want to get my perspective on that, you can ask me directly. Otherwise, I will answer that in a separate direction, in a separate video, particularly for that person who asked that question. I'm just tapping in on all of my different social media platforms, making sure everybody is good. Somebody left a comment and said, "Pay me to date me" is common in many Asian countries where women who want to survive must go along with this unfortunate act for survival. Blessings to all worthy of being blessed. And that's the irony, because I feel like in America now there is this weird sort of worship of Chinese and Japanese culture, and maybe not worship, but strong affinity praise and whatnot, even though they have a very active and very live social credit system set up. We seem to forget that part. And then I think I saw an article, I saved it for my headline news episode, but it said that China was going to be mandating that all children be taught by AI within a certain timeline. So, and many, if not most of them, are already doing that. I posted the video about pay me to date me, and I remixed the title a little bit because you gotta play with the words in order to get people to be interested in whatever the conversation is. But I was talking about the tennis player who basically is charging $1,000 for a deposit for a date, which sounds like a call girl type of experience. But she, as well as many of these other females who are totally acclimated to the concubine culture, are so game goofy because they don't understand how the male female dichotomy works. And if a man is prepaying you $1,000 for a date, I can guarantee you that he's either a lame, no, he's definitely a lame, and you're a lame too for requesting that. But he's also going to be expecting more than just, most likely going to be expecting more than just dinner and conversation, unless we're talking about somebody who just wants companionship and, to have a beautiful woman by his side. And then he's probably going to be in like his 70s or 80s. You know what I mean? Because if you're a man with a basic level of common sense and comprehension, and you can hold a good conversation and you got some change in your pocket, it's not difficult to go on a date. It's not difficult for a woman to go out with you. But then you look at her Instagram page, and I found out she does OnlyFans, and yeah, she's in like a thong cooking dinner. So what do you expect? You know what I mean? And then want to try to talk about body shaming and racism. Girl, shut up. Just stop playing with me. What's my take on the red heifer? I actually did a video, I think it should be on my YouTube channel, about that when they did that ritual. I think it was sometime last year. I don't, the whole religious ritual symbolism, especially them people over in the Middle East that have pretty much decimated Palestine and is very actively perpetuating a war that, although that's the physical war, that's the active war that we can quantify. But the war on Americans has been going on for a very long time now. And it peaked at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, when they put those needles out and inoculated 5.5 plus billion people around the world. So the red heifer, religious iconism, symbology, philosophy as it comes to religion. It depends on who you ask. Their perspective of the red heifer is a representation of them being the chosen people of God, and that they can do and say as thou wilt. You know what I mean? So for me, starting with that sort of vantage point, I don't know. I'm not a ritualistic person. I'm not a religious person. My source, I have a direct line to the Most High. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the perspective, and you know what I mean? But I keep saying, you know what I mean? Pardon me, you guys. Try to be mindful of that. We are passing the timeline of religion, just like we're passing the timeline of race-based consciousness. These things are supposed to lead us up to a certain point in consciousness. And then beyond that, we are going to be left with the 5% of the 5% who are radiating and embodying God consciousness and the wisdom of God, and to a point where those things are no longer necessary. So I know that's probably going around the mountain across the street, so to speak. But yeah, I don't really, that's what I think about it. The concubine culture, whack and weak. Yeah. And when I use the word concubine, in ancient times, and the original definition of concubine would be a woman who is taken under the wing or the married to a king who has a queen and, first wife or whatever. And then she becomes sort of part of that, second wife, third wife, or concubine. We had Moorish kings at one point that had like 5,000 concubines, right? And so he wasn't married to all of these women, but they were part of his, I'm going to use the word stable. And that's probably more Oakland terminology than I care to use at this point, but it's relative, right? So his stable of women that he was either just taking care of, when some of these women he was actively sexually active with, some he was just, they captured when they overtook another culture or civilization, and they would bring these women in and, provide a safe space, or, they are captives, or they are there to meet the king's needs, or they are there to be used for the king's pleasure in terms of pleasing other men, right? Or other great men of power. So that's the original definition of it. I remixed it. And basically, to me, when I use the word concubine and concubine culture, I'm talking about women who are intentionally leading with their sexuality from their lower nature. So I always have females that, whether I'm like they're we do a consultation or we work together, they're always like, I know you don't like twerking. I'm like, how can I not like a form of dance? It's not that I don't like a form of dance. I don't like the fact that the majority of these females are actively trying to get attention, leading with their sexuality from their lower nature. Why else would you be twerking on a table in a brunch setting? You know what I mean? I go on Instagram and I don't even follow. I follow like the Shade Room and Hollywood Unlocked and sites like this, so I can stay abreast of what's happening in the culture. But I'll say 80% of the content I follow online is like yoga pages, nature pages, metaphysics pages, right? Black culture, Black history type pages. And sometimes I go online and that's like the first thing I see. I wish these females knew how like tired a lot of these brothers are from watching this. And I'm not talking about the men that are operating in their lower nature. I'm talking about men that like are just tired of seeing it, because you can see it everywhere. If you want to go see somebody shake their ass, go to the strip club. And somebody asked me a question in the comments on the video. Did I look down on strippers? I don't look down on anybody. I don't look down on anybody. I do look down on the constant aggravation and intentionally focused on keeping Black people and Black culture locked in their lower nature. And that is what 95% of these females rappers represent. That's what 95% of the imagery, or maybe not 95%, because I don't watch a lot of videos anymore, but that's what a lot of these videos represent. They're intentionally like aiming at your lower nature to keep you locked in that lust-based frequency. Because as long as you're there, you're not tapping into the God frequency. And if we're not doing that, then what are we really talking about? You know what I mean? Peace to you too, Alasumbo. Much love. I don't know what Naeem Bialfel means, Brother La. I don't even know what language that is. You'll have to clarify that for me. Yeah, town business and God business, California Hotel on San Pablo. Is that even still there? The California Hotel? I want to say they've either totally revamped that hotel. I don't know if that's still standing though, It is self-expression. Everything is self-expression. Why can't it be self-expression? It is self-expression. I just told you what they're expressing. It's a mating call. That doesn't mean that women don't do dances, haven't traditionally done dances where they're like gyrating their hips, and because that's kinetic energy. If you guys see this smoke, it's an incense. It's like passing me. Ain't nobody in the background smoking a blunt. It's just the patchouli and cinnamon incense that's like, you know what I mean? Keeping me centered and stable. But yeah, that always started in Africa. Y'all be disrespecting the hell out of Africa when y'all say and do that, because a lot of things started in Africa that I never hear you talk about. You know what I mean? So, and again, in a space where you are doing a ritualistic dance, or you're intentionally trying to, like, manifest something, or those original customs and traditions that we did is one thing. You going online and just being able to see a woman just shaking her ass, just, you know what I'm saying, for the sake of what? So yeah, I don't, you know what I mean? But see, I'm not from the era of social media. So I learned very early to be able to discern respect versus attention. I always got a lot of attention for my looks, but I also knew that a lot of that attention was not healthy or positive. And so I would hear how men in my community and in my neighborhood and my nephews and my cousins would talk about these females. And I guarantee you that the same way that I was hearing them talk about these females, these brothers are still talking about, but in a way larger capacity, what you call self-expression. The question is it resonating respect? Now, that's a different type of conversation. You know what I mean? Peace, Richie Rich was good. How you doing? Yes, indeed. In Arabic, Zaza, forgive me for speaking instead of texting. No, it's all good. I asked the question because I want to know. Look, chat, let's cut the crap. We know when we are being debased and disrespected and destroyed. They make mockery of us and our failure to dignify ourselves and protect our women and children. Thank you so much, Brother Jamil, because that is 100% exactly how I feel and how I see it. And men should be taking note, because this is how they have been and are controlling and ruling you, and have been for some time now. I remember, and I've said this, several times in different videos over the years, but back when I used to only on my YouTube channel, before I even started posting content, I have 10,000 followers on Facebook before even Instagram was even created, but I was only writing. It was only from my writing. So eventually I started putting up videos on YouTube. So it was Minister Farrakhan, it was, Khalid Muhammad, it was all of the pro-Black, leaders and content that kind of reflected that, either from a historical vantage point or from today, modern times. And I recognized that, because I was watching a lot of, let's say Minister Farrakhan, for example, I was watching a lot of his content. And so, you see the video on YouTube right here, but then on the side here, you have the ability, they suggest in the algorithm more videos based on what it is that you're watching or what it is that you search. Well, they would always have soft porn type videos when I'm watching a Minister Farrakhan video, just some random white girls too. So what's the program? The program is that they believe that Black men who might be interested in a certain level of consciousness can be easily persuaded or dissuaded by white girls, or by, things of a sexual nature. You know what I mean? So they playing with you. You can't, you can't run that by me. And it doesn't matter if you disagree or not. It's just facts. No disrespect to you, but more so towards myself. Your appearance can be distracting, so I listen more than actually watching on topic. I have actually had people say that to me a lot over the years, and it's one of the reasons why I started doing content without you guys being able to see me. For one, it makes my life easier because I ain't got to think about lighting and all of that good stuff. You know what I mean? But for two, I feel like if you can sit down and watch me for 30 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour, listen to me without seeing me, then you're probably more likely in my tribe or aligned with what I'm trying to do and the message that I'm trying to convey. Because I don't have a personality where I need to be seen. I just want to be heard and felt. My message felt. You know what I mean? So I've heard that. I've even had some females tell me that before, not in like a sexual type of way, but just like, it was a little distracting for them to be able to gravitate towards the message that I was giving because of that. So I appreciate you saying it. And it gives me the opportunity to let you guys know, like, yeah, sometimes when I post these videos and you can't see me and you're like, oh, we want to see you. That's one of the reasons why, You disagree, but I don't really care. I mean, I'm saying that because it's you saying that, because I know you like provoking me and trying to get under my skin. But yes, you disagree and I don't. So now what? This is a Mexican showdown. What you want to do? Kai, I see you in the background of the studio. At any point, if you want to join the conversation, just hit me up in the private chat and let me know, and I will bring you up for sure. So true, Zaza. I remember being a young girl walking past men, hearing them say, "She holding up the peace. She's older. She's older enough for me." Hurt my heart so bad. Listen, man. When I was like 13. Overnight, I got tall overnight. I was in middle school. I was going to a private school at that time, and I was also playing volleyball. And so, I would be catching a bus with my volleyball uniform on. And volleyball is like biker shorts and some short shorts. And you know what I mean? I'm not even really like cognizant of this until I realized it. Like that type of sexual energy and sexual attention, I never liked it. And then I told you guys my dad took me to San Francisco to go, audition to be a model. And I didn't like that whole like judging and assessing me based on my looks. And I told my dad when I was 11, I'm going to be known for my mind. And that's been the modus operandi for me since then. But like I said in the previous video, that predatory type of energy, I realized and recognized that at a very young age. And so I set the intention, I'm not gonna, and I didn't do this at 11, but this is hindsight now, me kind of looking at the way that I've been operating. I don't want to activate men's lower nature. I want to activate the God frequency in men, or at least provide some sort of resources or perspective to assist in that regard, right? I want to try to help you, cross the bridge to your higher self, which is God. You know what I mean? So please don't ever think that if I wanted to like run an OnlyFans, you know what I mean? We were talking about this chick yesterday and how much money she's making on OnlyFans, and I become a millionaire overnight just by taking off your clothes. I could do that shit so easily, but then my reputation would be ruined, and then I would have to deal with people like Societe, but magnified at times 10,000. You say the wrong thing in my comments, and I'm drawing my sword and going for blood. You know what I mean? So why would I put myself in a position where I constantly got to keep fighting that type of energy off? I just don't want to do it. It's not worth it for me. I'll take the long route. And I'm a Scorpio, so I play the long game. You know? Yeah, Calhoun, UFO trying to, it's not UFO, I'm thinking Societe, but I actually appreciate the honesty because it really is a thing. And I've recognized that over the years. But that's why I'm always talking about the balance of indulgence and discipline. We don't focus enough on discipline in our culture. This is why I've always been, talking about the culture and how lower based in terms of frequency the sexual energy is in our culture. How can you go 400 years with constant RAPE, constant abuse, constant, the projection of overly sexualizing Black women, African women, and everything that entails? And they didn't just do it to us. They went to all the Native and Indigenous people around the world and overtly sexualized the women and made the whole entire world think that that's all they were good for, right? Baby making hips, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they put Sarah Bartman on full display because she had a big butt. You know what I mean? And like made it out of a circus. You can't play with me like that. And then I'm still gonna I'm changing the whole entire narrative. But I brought that up because we have never, particularly as women, had a intentional focus on changing the narrative and redirecting that energy. So for me, I'm an alchemist. It's about transmuting that energy and that perspective. You know what I mean? Okay, you're physically attractive to me. Cool. What's going on in your head? I know most of my followers are men, especially on YouTube. Okay, you're physically attracted to me. That got you in the door. Now what's going on with you? Where are you at in your mind and in your heart and in your spirit? Are you still operating in your lower nature? Because this is exactly what they want. Would you ever open a school? Yes, I actually, this was one of my, ancient people is the prerequisite to that. And I have, it's been a something that's been, and Jamil, I know you know this. This has been like one of those things that's always been in the background because I'm a teacher. I'm saying that because I could never get away from it. I'm not saying that like a flex. I'm saying it because my life has consistently been like, nah, you're trying to do this, but you need to do this. Nah, you're trying to do this, but you need to do this, right? So all of the workbooks that I've created are for that particular purpose, to get people to, that it's me providing the resources and the information, but then you got to answer the questions. You got to do the work. You have to, be focused in and be disciplined in order to take these things serious. I have two of my workbooks here right now, The Science of Sex and The Science of Self, The Power of the Mind. And then of course, my workbook and then my ancient people textbook. So yeah, I've been sort of building the foundation for a school because I can create a curriculum. I can create a math curriculum and a language arts curriculum. I've already done the history curriculum. I've pretty much already done in terms of like the energy and the mind space. I've already created a curriculum for those things through my books. So yes, I would absolutely open a school, but I wouldn't try to do it by myself. I'm tapped in with a lot of African and Black center schools across the country. I did cooperative economics, support our schools for almost 2 years, and we raised a lot of money for schools. You notice I never trended for that, but we raised a lot of money for African center schools. So I would tap in with the principal of Ile Omade in Oakland. I would tap in with the principal of the Marcus Garvey School here in LA. I would tap in with the people that have already done it, you know what I mean? And create like a board and then pull together the resources and the money. I'm doing all of the decor. I'm doing all of the paint. I'm doing all of that type of stuff because I have a strong background in those things and I love to do it. I can create the curriculum, but I would also tap in and see if there's any other resources that we can use. But yes, I would absolutely create a school, open a school, and I want to open up a compound or have a compound where I can create a space for writers to go and take 6 months to a year, and either create a manuscript or finish a manuscript and have classes and things where people can come and just be in a safe, quiet, comfortable, beautiful space. So, because I feel like one of my jobs while I'm here in this lifetime is to keep writing alive. You know what I mean? And to keep that art form alive, especially now when people are writing books with artificial intelligence. Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, I don't want artificial intelligence doing any writing for me. I want the organic, original intelligence to do that. That's, you guys think AI is powerful. I think God is powerful. You know what I mean? So not to say no knock on technology, but I'm here to tap into that original science, that original wisdom of the true and living God. I'm here to reflect that light. Technology can help me along that path, but it cannot do my work for me. Thank you for asking that question, Joy. I appreciate that. Yeah, big Scorpio energy all day, sis. I wasn't referring to a lower nature level of distraction, but more like being distracted by an appreciation. I didn't take it in that spirit, UFO, but I can see why some people would, but I didn't take it in that spirit at all. This is something that I have heard continuously over the years, so I'm cognizant of it. And I've had conversations with people that have, even as of late, that are like, no, you need to start using your beauty more. Which is an interesting dichotomy for me because I've shied away from doing that for a long time. But yeah, so yeah, I didn't take it like that at all. Peace and love for those of you guys just joining in with us. Khalif says semen retention is the way to go. Absolutely. That's, and shout out to Montauk Chia and shout out to all of the brothers who are creating content and conversations around semen retention. And I actually talk about that in the Science of Sex workbook as well. And that goes for men, but even for women, I think one of the ways that I've been able to stay so young and retain my youth, because I've been very sexually disciplined. I don't know how people be out here having casual sex. I just can't do that. I'm not giving you my body if I won't kiss you, if I can't kiss you. And I'm not kissing you if I don't like you. So I gotta like you first. And I'm attracted to spiritually intelligent men, to intelligence, so I got to get to know you before we even cross that bridge. It's crazy to me how many men send me their numbers in my DMs and be like, call you. Why? Call me. Why? What do I know about you that would make me be interested in calling you and having a conversation? And then they get mad when I send them a link for a one-on-one consultation. But what are we doing here? You got access to listen to and watch all of my content. I don't know anything about you. So why would I give you my number? You have to be impressive mentally, spiritually, emotionally. Like, show me something, and don't send me a D pic, because then we really gonna have a problem. And I get a lot of that energy, mind you. So yeah, but semen retention, for those of you guys that don't know, and thank you so much. That's the type of king type jewels that I be wanting my brothers in my chat room to drop, right? Semen retention is about, there is a process of, instead of ejaculating, ejaculation, where you can have the physical effects of the ejaculation, but not actually waste yours or emit your semen, right? So it's basically an internal ejaculation, but it's called I said what I wanted to say. But then it's also semen retention, meaning retaining your semen and being sexually disciplined. This is why the world of twerking, and why they're consistently attacking men in their lower nature, because they know if you can practice sexual discipline, they know if you can, not get excited every time a pretty face walks into the room or is online. Originally you were researching, let's say, the power of the mind, and then all of a sudden you see a random chick online twerking, and now all of a sudden you ain't thinking about nothing pertaining to your original goal, right? That's how they're controlling men, and Black men in particular. That's why the culture is so sexual. That's why in 50 Cent's, in 95% of 50 Cent shows, if you pay attention, a lot of times those shows start out with sexual scenes. Because if you don't have sexual discipline, they're going to lock you in that lust-based frequency and keep you there for that whole 60 minutes, right? Until the show ends. And then even beyond that, depending on your level of consciousness as a man, right? So, and the same thing goes for women. These females have weaponized their sexuality now. And so they think that they can carry on sexually in a promiscuous way, the way that some men do. It's not a thing that is particular to men. It's a thing that's particular to the men of this world, right? So we have to contextualize those two things, because we've been taught that men are supposed to sow their royal oats, right? In your late teens and in your early 20s and in your early 30s, you're supposed to wild out sexually. And then by the time you get into your 30s and 40s, you got a beer belly, and you got your face looks all the energy and the life done left out of your face, and you look weak, and you know what I mean? Your auric field and your aura is not strong. Yeah, that's because when you were in your prime, not just prime sexually in terms of how often you get horny, but when you're in your prime in terms of energy, right? In terms of ability to, to really, really hone into something as a young person, right? Your vitality level, I guess I should say. That's when you really should be fine-tuning your greatness. That's when you really should be working to become a king. That's why I'm so proud of my son. But that's when the epicenter of these things are supposed to be taking place. But no, we've taught our sons, because of what they've projected onto us, no, this is the time to sow your royal oats. This is why when you and your men are in their 30s and 40s, and this is when they're just now starting to get a grip. After 1 or 2 or 3 baby mamas that some random chick you done met in the club, and now all of a sudden you stuck with this woman for the rest of your life. And now you on a podcast disrespecting all women because you couldn't control your sexual nature, and you didn't appreciate and value yourself enough so that you could attract the higher vibration of woman. That's why with this tennis star chick, and her talking about, you know, she's had so many bad relationships with men. That's a reflection of you, sis. You online showing your ass and you think you're going to run into a high vibrational king? That's not how this works. You know what I mean? So shout out to you for you know, being focused on semen retention and having sexual discipline and reading the books and focusing and just setting the intention. You know, I talk to my son about these things all the time, because again, I raised a young man who is destined to be a king. You know, so we not operating in the same space as this mediocrity and this regular time shit. Like, no, you in your prime right now. Hone in on your skill set, hone in on your talents, focus on your work, focus on your business, you know, and now you're not leaking all of your energy to where you are running into these random low level basic chicks because you don't have the high enough vibration to attract a high quality woman. That's the real issue. The tennis player, no, you don't have the vibrational resonance to attract a king. So any man that gives you $1,000 deposit for a date is a lame, and so are you. The only thing I request is that the lames don't reproduce themselves. Just don't have children. Let this be a lifetime experience. We don't want to carry this into the future. That's all I ask. You know what I mean? You inspire me, ZaZa. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I receive that. Because sometimes I wonder, not if I'm inspiring people, but if the message is sticking to the ribs. You know, this is a heavy cross to carry. Everybody for a long, not everybody, but a lot of people for a long time have told me I'm too serious, you know, and in a world full of silly shit, serious people, you know, we catch a bad rap. That doesn't mean I don't like to have fun. Like, nah, I love to have fun. I love my life, but I'm also here on a very spiritual, divine mission and purpose. So I've been zoomed in and focused for a long time, you know? I know most, if not all, Muslim brothers are more concerned with having a wife who is more into deen than the world. Okay, I'm going to answer that in just a second. Hang on, I'm responding to a text. I know most, if not all, Muslim brothers are more concerned with having a wife who is more into deen than the world. I would challenge you on that. I know and have known, you know, I've been doing this for a minute now. So I'm real tapped in with obviously the Nation of Islam. That's, you know, my home. That's where my knowledge of self, you know, sort of blossomed. But then also in the broader Muslim community, because I have a lot of Muslim female followers just in Islam, period, that have a lot of issues with Muslim brothers in terms of the respect factor, in terms of the sex aspect, in terms of, you know, like I find that the same thing that we struggle with in Christianity, that we struggle with in the conscious community, that we struggle with in Pan-African, whatever, you know, different dynamic you want to look at, is also in Islam. And then also there is a continuity of, you know, because of the polygamous element in Islam, in certain aspects of Islam. And don't get me wrong, because some of the most beautiful people I know and beautiful men I know are Muslims. But what I am saying is that this is an issue that is also percolating within Islam. Whether you are a Muslim or a Christian, whatever your spiritual, you know, vantage point is, you bring yourself with you. And so if you haven't learned how to balance indulgence and discipline, and then especially when it comes to, and I know this don't pertain to Black Muslims in America per se, but when you start looking at Islam in the Middle East, when you start looking at Islam in certain aspects of African culture, some of it's righteous, but a lot of it's not, you know? And that's not really something that gets talked about a lot. There is a very unfortunate controlling factor and controlling element when it comes to women. And then you add the polygamous element to it, and there's like a lot of little intricate elements of that. But I'm only saying that not just from like the research and historical vantage point. Even in my book Ancient People, I talk about the fact that the original Islam that migrated from Africa and went up into Europe and civilized the Europeans. Originally, they were operating from a very righteous standpoint in terms of how they dealt with women. But then you fast forward to 700, 800 years later, and now we start talking about women not having rights. You got a Khalifa who has 5,000 concubines. What part of Islam is that? You know what I mean? And then not to mention the fact that you weaken the whole genetic lineage by going into Europe and taking on all of these, white and female and blonde concubines, which they preferred. We talk about African men who were Muslims, right? And so I'm saying all of that to say that I have 100% known and do know righteous, upstanding Muslim men, but I also know that there is a real problem within Islam, as in all of our different representations of culture and religion, where men are being led by their lower nature. And I know this was a fact in the Nation of Islam as well, because I spent many years in the mosque, and then beyond the mosque, I'm tapped in with the nation. So a lot of the women would come to me and tell me about things that they were experiencing in terms of the men and how they were dealing with them, And then now you add the social media element to it, where again, you can log on at any time and see demon time. So you really have to be strong and staunch in, your discipline, your self-awareness and whatnot, regardless to what religion you're in order to be able to maintain your yourself as a man in these different spaces, I'm just gonna let that ride right there. That was Umar. Yeah, it's like I always say, men who can't control their sexual discipline can't be trusted in positions of leadership. I knew that shit was a fugazi when he started talking about a conscious stripper. If you're you as a man, if you are choosing strippers as your mates, you are not qualified for leadership. And that was what, 10 years ago at this point? Not to mention standing in front of people and yelling and screaming at them because, the people get their leaders they deserve. And for all of the females that stroked this dude's ego and made him feel like he was the best thing since sliced bread and all, yeah, you fed the beast. You fed the monster. This is why I never only blame men. It's like Cassie and Diddy. You know what I mean? Yeah, he probably was a monster on the scale of 2 when she came along, and then she got with the shits and fed his lower nature and weaponized it to a whole nother level, along with all the other females that continue to do it, including Young Miami, running around bragging about getting pissed on. I don't know how stupid you could be. Your chances of actually attracting a real king at this point after doing that publicly are slim next to none. But I'm just saying, women actively participate in feeding men's lower nature. And then they get mad when he becomes a beast. What did you think he was going to become? A god? That's not how that works, So I just, I listen and watch. You know what I mean? Our culture and in the conscious community and people is very male heavy. If you're a Black man and you've got a quality personality and a good, you're studied and fluent in certain sciences and certain perspectives or whatnot, you get immediately support from the Black community. And you don't even have to, you can be a FUCK boy and have some knowledge under your belt and then, present and be charismatic. And yeah, you'll get continuous support from the Black community. It's not the same for a woman. And I wouldn't have said that when I came through the door. But now that I'm like 15 years in, I can say that as an absolute fact. 100%. Women do not get the same level of support, especially in academia. I can enjoy your beauty while also understanding the message. I'm able to balance my higher and lower nature. That's all we ask. That's all the women ask. You know what I mean? Because, and this is what the irony of like all the conversations around relationship and like submission. Like, why am I talking to 1,000 random strangers about submitting to a man? I'm never gonna submit to you. You know what I mean? Like my guy and having a conversation with my guy is a different thing, but like me and you shouldn't be talking about submission. We should be talking about relating as brother and sister. You know, a man who refuses to learn from a woman is a fool, but a woman with nothing to teach him, even more so. I have to bear the brunt of being surrounded by women with nothing to teach these men. It makes my job harder. That's a joke, but it's real too. You know what I mean? So, I didn't even realize I clicked this link, Amina, but yeah, it's peace, Keith, much love. I forgot my train of thought, but it's all good. I appreciate you too, Sebi, much love. Thank you so much, Calhoun. I appreciate the super chat, and everybody is on notice that, super chats are welcome, and especially if you have a question. What is your thoughts on Joe Dispenza and his meditation practice? Have you ever seen some old YouTube videos by a guy named William Donahue? William Donahue, no. Joe Dispenza, I am an avid student and fan of his work. I talk about him all the time. I listen to some of his, meditations on occasion. I share them in my YouTube channel as well. His book, Becoming Supernatural, is one of the books that I reference and use in different ways. Because, I'm a scientist and I am a spiritual scientist. So things need to make sense for me. And you can only, in spirituality, you're only going to get the data and the information so far, because some of this stuff is most of it's the unseen, right? So, but for the things that we can verify, the things that we can prove, those are the things that I gravitate towards. And I find Joe Dispenza's work to be very powerful because he's created content and platforms that embellish and emphasize that, right? For instance, in Becoming Supernatural, he gives this very thorough breakdown of these different experiences, medical and scientific data with the placebo and the nocebo effect, right? Now, I've been hearing about the placebo effect for 20 years now, but for him to go into the detail and talk about specific cases and surgeries and things that happen where people are living with real time, like serious diseases or broken bones and things like that. And then the doctor give them a pill or pretend to do a surgery. And now all of a sudden this person is walking out of the hospital thinking that they actually got the cure, right? And then him taking that and then juxtaposing that, or it's not even juxtaposing, but him taking that and using that as data to confirm the whole concept of energetic resonance. And if you think it in, you can think it in a most certain, right, in a most faithful, in a most assured, confident way. And you can actually not only change the healing modalities within your body, but you can also start to affect your environment. You can also start to heal other people that are in close proximity if your vibration is high enough, right? And then taking that and then sort of using all of that information as real-time data. Because for me, again, when I can see it and sort of prove it, that increases my interest, right? So being able to put all these different sort of examples and things together, and obviously he proved it on himself when I think it was his back. He had a real bad injury, and this is what made him go into that science in the first place, into the researching in the first place. That all of those things sort of reiterate, much like Greg Braden, much like Delbert Blair, right? Much like the Kabbalion, which is a book that, although they give the Greeks 3 initiates, they give them credit for that, but no, that's African science. The whole concept of vibration and mental vibration, right? Gender vibration, or mental gender. All of this stuff is things that he took and sort of conceptualized it in his own way, right? And but made it, modernized it in a way that it was palatable for us to be able to. Because for me, I need to be clear. I don't want to sound smart. I can use big words, and confuse people. But wisdom is simple. So if you can't break down complex subjects in a simple way where it can reach the average person, then what's the point? So that was another thing that really, impressed me by him. You're taking really complex things and simplifying them in a way that are, that are relative to today. So yeah, I'm an avid student and fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I highly recommend everybody. You can go online and search his meditations. He's got, ones you listen to when you first wake up in the morning, ones you listen to at night. I would recommend after you listen to them for a certain amount of time that you take the transcription of those meditations and record yourself saying them, because your vibrational resonance, the vibrational resonance of your individual voice, right, has a different effect on your person. I have the subconscious mind, the power of the subconscious mind meditation, reprogramming your subconscious mind meditation. And I listen to it all the time. It's on YouTube. A lot of people have watched that video, and it's, brought people through a lot of sort of difficult experiences and whatnot. But I would recommend at a certain point that you take the transcript of those words and speak them in your own voice, and add some frequency and some chime bells or whatever in the background, to sort of add to the experience. But yeah, and I haven't heard of Will Donahue. I just hopped on the live, and the first word I hear from you is ejaculation. Well, you should have heard uh, the whole sentence. I don't know how ejaculation would have been the first word. It probably was like, controlling or ejaculation versus ejaculation, but that's okay too, because that's relative to the conversation that we're having. So it's all good. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Yes, I appreciate you guys for the conversation and the questions. Isn't it just natural body function? What is give me some context on your question. Isn't what just natural body function? Are we talking about semen retention? Are we talking about ejaculation? What are we? Give me a little bit more context for that so I can answer that. Because I see your second question. Don't people just want to be loved? So I'm trying to make sure I understand what you're saying. Magic City new series. I talked about that. Well, I was gonna show the video. They copyrighted the video, so I took it out of the video with the tennis player. But that documentary that's out about Magic City and how all of the T.I. and Jermaine Dupri with his silly ass bragging about the fact that he spent, was it $1 million or $10 million in a strip club? I would have took that to the grave. I never would have said that publicly, especially because you're from Atlanta and because there is so much shit that needs to be addressed happening in Atlanta, whether it's the black on black crime. I know you guys don't like to use that language, but what else would we call it? Hood crime, inner city violence. Is that better? Whether it's the homelessness, you got a whole stroll in Atlanta where 14 and 15-year-old girls are like actively being prostituted, and you're out here bragging about spending all your money in Magic City. That is the most lamest gang goofy shit ever. And you fumbled Janet Jackson. So, you know what I mean? You are deteriorating your legacy every time you talk. Just stop speaking. I would love for somebody to clip that and send it to them, and I'll stand on it. But yeah, the timing of the Magic City documentary, just like the timing of the Freaknik, like look at all the stuff that they're continuously putting out to keep you locked in that frequency, you know? Please share this with the world. Is that for me? I'm sharing it with the world right now. That's why I'm building with you guys. You guys go take these messages and share them, clip the videos and send them. I mean, I feel like I put out a textbook and I should be getting a lot more support, not just with the purchasing, but like people actually sharing the book. Because for 20 years, I've been hearing about this is the type of stuff we need. Why isn't anybody doing ... And I keep doing all the stuff that people say, why isn't anybody doing? And then I don't get the support. So I don't know. I think it's at the point now where, you know, I've made the book for the world. It's particularly about our people. But I was having a conversation about business and a particular brand that is, I won't mention the brand, but that is, you know, you could tell the brother is hurting because he's not getting his culture and his community's support. And he was talking about all the stuff he put into the Black community, the money and whatnot. And it's like at a certain point in business, you have to open up the advertising, the focus, the operations, everything to broadcast it to the world. Right. And so Black people tend to support once you don't need the support anymore. So like once your business gets through that bottleneck space and becomes successful, then that's when they all seem to show up. It's a fascinating thing. But when you are in the building phases, it's very hard to get our people support. So I was been kind of sitting back like, damn, people have been saying we need a textbook in history that, you know, especially in the age of DEI. But then I have like 40,000 followers on all of my different sites, and people won't even plug my shit. I don't understand what that's about. So yeah, hopefully you guys will share it with the world. Otherwise, maybe I need to wait for white people and Mexican people and people around the world to actually gravitate towards it, and then my people will follow suit. I don't know. I think it's the alcohol and narcotics that causes the lowness, the wild promiscuity, but is monogamous sexual behavior really going to cause us to get bloated, sick, and elderly looking? I didn't even mention monogamy. I mentioned sexual discipline. So sexual discipline and monogamy can be, you can be in a monogamous relationship and be sexually disciplined. And that goes to the ejaculation versus ejaculation conversation, or just being with a partner who's equally yoked. If you are mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically focused as a man, and you attract a partner who is mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically focused, you are going to be operating from the fullness of yourself. So sex is not going to be the main focus in the relationship. It can be a powerful part of the relationship. It can be a powerful part of the bond. Obviously, it will if you're equally yoked. But you also got things to accomplish. You're trying to be great, right? You're trying to be excellent at something, right? So this is about being disciplined. And I didn't even use the word bloated. I didn't even use the word elderly looking or sick for that matter, because a lot of other things play into that equation. And yes, there are there's wild promiscuity in people that aren't into alcohol and narcotics as well. Does that increase the probability? Absolutely. What do you have to do to not be an alcoholic or to be prone to alcohol and narcotics? Be disciplined. You know what I mean? So we still get back to the same topic. So monogamous sexual behavior, again, if it depends on how high up the tree you're trying to go. If you're grabbing fruit, the low-hanging fruit, which is the easiest fruit to pull, then you know the goals and aspirations are going to be different, right? For me, and I, you know, have a propensity to be attracted to men who are martial artists or who are into martial arts. And I think at a certain point when I started to think about that and analyze that, I'm pretty sure that's because they tend to be sexually disciplined. And so because they are sexually disciplined, that energy is being transmuted in another higher level of elevating themselves, whether it's physically, whether it's, you know, in the study of the sciences, so to speak, because you're trying to operate at a high capacity physically in the martial arts world in terms of, you know, that particular art form. So much like a great fighter, much like a great boxer, much like a great, you know, NFL player or basketball player, they have to be, I'm not going to say they have to be sexually disciplined, but when it's time for them to perform at a high level, I can guarantee you that they're not being wildly promiscuous. And the ones who are the ones who you see fizzle out. So it just depends on how great you want to be. It depends on how powerful you are. It depends on how spiritually focused you are. If you're not a spiritually focused man, then I can understand this perspective. I appreciate that, Queen. Much love. You here on a mission and look good at the same time. I mean, it's a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. Many confused, but I appreciate that. Much love and appreciation for beauty with lust. Imagine images taken from the shoulder up showcase beauty over lower nature like priceless portraits. Well, yeah, and I find beauty in everything. I can find beauty in another woman. I'm not physically attracted to women, but if I see a beautiful woman that's fly or that's on top or her hair is fly or whatever, I compliment her. I can acknowledge beauty in other women. That's why I love nature, because there's beauty everywhere. Like um, you go to Manhattan Beach, right? And so yes, the beach is beautiful, but then you got all these wide arrays of flowers, and you got these palm trees, and you got the different types of trees, these elegant sort of fancy trees, and then you got these beautiful architectural masterpieces in the buildings, right? It's just beauty everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's sort of the magic in this life experience, to be able to acknowledge the beauty and the power of nature and the beauty of other human beings, the beauty in other women, and God forbid a beautiful man, right? The physical attraction is one thing, but spiritually and mentally and emotionally, there is nothing more sexy, nothing more powerful, nothing more attractive than a man that is operating on all four fronts of himself. A man that can control himself and not be pulled by and led by his lower nature. That's attractive to me. I think the spirit of drugs and alcohol caused the promiscuous sexual activity, even if you don't participate in drugs and alcohol, club culture, pool hall, draft culture. That's part of it. 100%. I agree. Yes, we are aligned there. That's not the full perspective, but it definitely is a part of, the picture. And that's why they're consistently pushing that. You just said a word. Wait, you just said word, then ZaZa. I hope I read that right. Peace, Greg. How you doing, King? Strippers are human beings too. Yeah, I know. You could potentially end up with one. Come back in 10 years and tell us your story. Show us the life that you produce. Show us the children that you produce. I never said strippers weren't people. I just think strippers reach for the low branches of the tree. Just like brothers in the hood who can sell a bag of crack or fentanyl or some drug because they need money. We grew up in poverty. We all had choices. You know what I mean? When I was living in Oklahoma City, there was this period where I was in 11th grade. I went there in 11th grade. I graduated from high school. And there was this period when like all the females were going down to Dallas to strip. It was the thing, right? I'm talking about 18, 19, 20, etc. And they were all like, oh, I made this much money over the weekend. Da, 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 da. Mind you, I'm a young, broke student. You know what I mean? I live with my people. So my home is taken care of. But in terms of like the money in my pocket, yeah, I need money. But was that ever an option for me? Hell no. You couldn't pay me enough. So we all have choices and we all have options. And I have followers who, are in that life and are in that world, and it's all love. I'm very happy they're here, because the fact that you're here means you're reaching for the light. You can't listen to my content unless you're reaching for the light. Because what am I talking about? I ain't talking about no gang goofy shit. We haven't even talked about celebrities at all. We're talking about culture, religion, self-respect, discipline. Right? We're talking about semen retention. I'm speaking life to the kings in the room. So if you can't receive what it is that I'm saying, then, like I always say, there's good men, there's kings, and then there's those that are striving to be true and living gods. The question for you to ask yourself is, which one are you? Now, your questions give me an idea of which one you are, but it's not my choice and decisions to make. Dude is the definition of a lustful spirit. He OD'd on his own ego. I'm assuming you're talking about Mr. Johnson, and I would absolutely 1000% agree with that. I don't really know much about the NOI. I'm a Sunni. I know a lot about the NOI, and I also am connected and tapped in with a lot of Sunni Muslims and brothers and sisters as well. I didn't say Sunni because I know it's not just Sunni. There are multiple um, uh, um, sex is not the word, sects. It's not the word, but I know you know what I mean by that. But I have a wonderful relationship with with a brother who has a mosque out in Tampa, Florida, and through him, I have been introduced to a lot of people that represent what is considered Orthodox Islam, that is not of the Nation of Islam. And then you also have the Bilalians, right? And that element of Islam. So I'm not speaking to any particular, you know, perspective of Islam per se. Yeah, when a man falls, don't laugh, learn. Exactly. Brother Law called me. We can talk whenever you would like. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, well, then make some king moves. I ain't mad about it. Stay away from my son to all concubines. Exactly. All lanes, male and female, get together, join, go and meet, and live off in some wonderful love island. Just don't procreate. That's all I ask. And as I have said to the concubines of the world consistently, stay away from my son. That's all I ask. And I say that as a, to parrot your point, but then also as a joke, because if I've done my job as a mother, my son might play around and, bump his head and make some mistakes. But if I'm on my square as a mother, then my son is eventually going to settle down and be attracted to females who resonate with the standard that his mother established. And I ain't never had a lot of men around my son. He never had a lot of, you know what I mean? He ain't there, who is that? And, it's one here one day and one here the next day. Like, nah, we can meet and go have dinner and have a good time. And you know what I mean? But like meeting my son, yeah, that's a special thing. You got to be very special to be in the vicinity of my son, So yeah, please, concubines, keep your sons away from mine. I mean, your daughters away from mine, Why do regular people have such issues with relaxation and focus? Is meditation just a band-aid? Aren't these issues that need to be resolved or at least addressed? So that's a loaded question, right? And then your second question is, can we meditate trauma away? So these are very loaded questions. I could literally do a 2-hour video just on this question alone. But what I will say is that, number one, we live in a world that is not supporting us in terms of relaxing. We live in a world that is keeping us on a hamster wheel, keeping us distracted or, mind everywhere. How many people do you know that have told you at a certain point, I'm all over the place, right? Well, this world is constructed to keep us in that frequency of being all over the place. That's number one. Number two, a lot of us come from, difficult and traumatic experiences in our childhood that we never actually dealt with or had compassion for ourselves, right? And I talked about that in my video, Triggers and Anxiety. If you watch that, it might give you a little bit more in-depth vantage point on that particular question. And me and my self-awareness and realizing that I still had something underneath the surface that was related to abandonment and neglect issues from my childhood, right? It's not something I'm thinking of all the time. It's not something that I'm waving the flag. I'm not out in the street all the time. Like, this is my issue. This is my problem. But it's something that's been simmering beneath the surface that I wasn't aware of, but that has been affecting my quality of life, the quality of friends I attract, the quality of relations, the quality of relationships, experiences, etc. So you have to, if you in turn up mode, right? If you at the club every weekend, if you constantly need to be stimulated by other people, then you're never actually silent, sitting with yourself and analyzing yourself. Most people don't do that. Like I always say, if you can't sit for 20 minutes and just be still with the silence of yourself and your inner voice without the mind of the world constantly jarring at you, then your mind does not belong to you. So regular people who have issues with relaxation and focus is because their mind does not belong to them. It belongs to the world, right? And so that's one thing. And then meditation being a band-aid, no. But I think one of the big issues with meditation is that it hasn't been taught in a way that people who have issues with relaxation and focus, right? Or who come from traumatic backgrounds or who have issues with abandonment, etc. It's not being taught in a way that it can reach them, right? It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. Yeah, meditating for 20 minutes a day sounds good, but if I'm sitting down for 20 days and my thoughts are getting the best of me, it's a waste of time. You know what I mean? So in that perspective, I would totally change the focus of the intention to pushing back from meditation and just going for a walk every day and being in nature and taking your shoes off and putting your feet in the grass. Go to the beach, go hiking, go be in a beautiful environment in nature. That actually is meditation, because now you're in a space that actually relaxes you. It speaks to your relaxation. It speaks to you not focusing on your problems and just focusing on the beautiful environment right in front of you. I would say do that for a month straight. Then come back to the table. Okay, how's your diet? If you eat Cheetos and red hot Doritos, if you drink soda every day, if you eat pork, right? If you are, if your diet is not healthy, then trying to talk about relaxation and focus is a waste of time, right? People don't have discipline in order to be able to focus on what they're eating. They don't want to talk about that, but they want to talk about meditation. That's a waste of time, right? If you are in an unhealthy relationship and your partner, your man or your woman is sucking the life force energy out of you, they're not supportive, they talk negative to you, it's going to be very difficult for you to try to be intentional and hone in on meditation, because you live with an enemy. You know what I mean? So that's a multi-layered conversation. And it, depending on the person, if you come from the hood and you got trauma as a young Black man, I wouldn't even be like, okay, you need to sit down and meditate. I wouldn't even say that to you. I find that very disingenuous, because what does that even mean? I have a hard time sitting still and not thinking about gunshots going off in the background, or, when my homeboy got killed, or, et cetera, right? So that's why being a good listener is critical. This is why I'm so good with my clients and in my workshops, because I listen to people. I really listen to people. By the way, speaking of, there's a link in the description, and this is only for today only, and I only have 2 spots. I'm offering 50% off consultations, 50% off, 50. So for all of you guys who have wanted to talk to me to get my perspective or whatever, if you wanted to do it, now is the time, because I don't offer consultations anymore. That link is in the description. Today is the last day to sign up for my Climbing the Ladder of Yourself focus group for ladies only. Today is the absolute last day. I'm not going to promote it anymore after today, because I was trying to reach the people that reach out to me for help. That's the reason I do this stuff. But I can't invest in you guys if you want to invest in me. That's just not the way this works. And then also Saturday, September 13th, I'm speaking live in Los Angeles. And the nature of this conversation, this type of stuff we're talking about, I'm going to be talking about live in that event, as well as doing a book reading and a book signing of Ancient People. So if you're there, you can purchase the book. You'll get a chance to see it and feel it and all that good stuff. And yeah. And then also all of my books, make sure you guys support what I actually do, because I run a business and I've created a lot of content to back up the things that I'm saying. I am an avid student. So all of the work that I put out into the world is because I study great minds. I study powerful people, but more importantly, I study myself, right? And in studying myself, that has been the most prominent and powerful reflection of the Most High to me, whether it's through physical anatomy, whether it's my physical body and fasting, whether it's herbs in the internal body, whether it's the way I'm thinking and feeling, alchemizing the circumstances of my upbringing, right? The darkness and transmuting that and turning into light and something powerful. This is all stuff that I have, tested and tried out on myself, and I'm giving it back to the world, right? So reciprocity is the order of the day. And thank you so much to you guys for the super chats. Much love. I appreciate it. Can you meditate trauma away? Yes and no. I say no only because if you're radiating trauma, it's going to be damn near impossible to meditate. It's putting the cart before the horse. So before focusing on meditation, again, change your diet first and foremost, and start fasting consistently, right? Who are the people around you? your friends, are your friends radiating trauma? You can't. It's going to be hard to break the trauma frequency if you still hang around people that are radiating trauma. Are you in a relationship that is traumatizing you? It's going to be hard to break the trauma frequency if you're still in an environment that is radiating trauma. If you have a negative relationship with your mother or your father, and they're the original point of contact in terms of trauma, and that relationship is an ongoing open wound, it's going to be damn near impossible until you deal with that, the complexities of that relationship, either cutting it off or drawing boundaries, or being an advocate for yourself and standing up for yourself. Is going to be impossible to get out of the traumatic frequency if you're not focusing on these things first. So this is why I don't come out the gate saying meditate. And there's different ways of meditating too. You can walk and meditate, right? You can walk and listen to the Joe Dispenza meditation, or listen to the power of reprogramming the subconscious mind meditation, right? These are things that you can do to keep you present, because what meditation really is being 100% fully present. Some people, I was there when I was creating Ancient People. That was a meditation. That wasn't me sitting on a meditation pillow in lotus position, right? Honing in, and you know what I mean? Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, or whatever, like different forms of meditation. No, I was meditating because I was in the zone. I was 100% aligned with the true and living God, because I was in the zone, because I was creating one of the things that I know for a fact that I was brought here to create. That's a meditation, right? So I think because a lot of our perspective of meditation comes from the East, and it doesn't address the particulars of what we have been through here in America in particular. This is why having spiritual leaders, having spiritual teachers, Black in particular, that are from here. We talk about Africa is the Mecca in terms of the economic movement and, moving forward. I can 100% get behind that. But is Africa going to lead the world spiritually in a spiritual war? No. Africa's not qualified to lead the world in a spiritual war because of the particulars of what has happened there, and because of how out of alignment they've gotten in terms of the spiritual vantage point, if you will. Now, are there not powerful spiritual, leaders and healers and priests and priestesses in the motherland? 1000%. I'm talking about the collective consciousness. I'm talking about alchemizing the circumstances of the experiences. Who better qualifies for that role than us here? That's why I'm here having this conversation today, because I have alchemized the circumstances, not only of my personal experience. This is why I study history. This is why I study us. This is why I study them. This is why I study Bill Gates, because if I can study the devil and understand his intentions and why he's here and what the bigger purposes of what he's doing, then yeah, I can alchemize that knowledge or transmute that knowledge and be able to come out on the other end with the wisdom that I can give to you guys to where I'm getting the type of messages I got from the Triggers and Anxiety video. So many powerful, prominent, beautiful testimonies from people that related to what I said. That's because I'm an alchemist. I've been in the fire. I had to be a witness to my own darkness, my own bullshit, my own fuckery. But then beyond that, the shit that my family perpetuated on me. What it took for me to grow up in Oakland, California, as a light-skinned, curly-haired woman in a very dark-skinned family, getting, ninth grade, I got jumped 3 times and had 9 fights in a public school situation. What the hell is this about? Right? Me being able to take the experience of a Tupac or a Kendrick Lamar or I want to say a female rapper, but it's so difficult, Lauryn Hill. But Lauryn Hill was already kind of like on a higher vibration, right? Where I was learning from her. I was drawing from her wisdom and her experience. So I'm going to have to ponder that for a minute, because I don't listen to none of this shit today. Rhapsody, I'm talking about music I listen to, and I don't mean Instagram rappers. It's a different thing from making a 60-second or a 90-second song that's a bop to making a whole entire album that a person can listen to from beginning to end. It's not a lot of female rappers like that. But the experience of Black America, from the Nation of Islam to the Bilalian Muslims to the how Christianity hindered us, and then the benefits of having the church in the Black rural South and how that was a place of refuge for our people for a certain amount of time. That's why I don't bang on people's religion, especially because most of you guys that bang on people's religion don't have anything to give people to replace it. And telling people to meditate is not sufficient. You know what I mean? So I think I answered your question. I feel like I went all the way around the mountain to cross the street. But yeah, thank you for those questions. Beautiful questions, important questions. My niece is a real life sign model with tons of female model friends. Acknowledging beauty without an agenda became natural a long time ago. I can tell I'm hella behind on the chat because I see where you guys are opposed to where I was in the conversation. So let me move down a little bit. Yeah, your brain rewired was a really good, documentary on Gaia. Peace to the God, Shekhem Ra. Very happy to have you in the building, and I can see you in the background. I shared the book with so many people. Much love. I appreciate you for that. Much love. We are the people. I appreciate you for the super chat. Chase progress, not pleasure. It will get you a lot further in life. That's a fact. Remember, Black matters. Yes, 100%. Absolutely. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with you guys. I'm way behind on the chat, so just bear with me just 1 second. Yeah, Brooke says she lives in ATL and it's exhausting. I know it's exhausting. And mind you, my son was living there. It's like, how in the hell am I supposed to raise a king in this environment where the girls are walking into the QT half naked? I remember one time me and my son were sitting in the parking lot, and I think he had went in and we were just coming out, and it was a female walking out. And she had like fishnets. She had on fishnet stockings and like a leotard or something. It was like almost a G-string, but not. She looked like she just came right from the strip club, or she was on her way or something. And my son, he looks at her and then he turns around and looked at me, but it was kind of like, he looked at me like, what? She was dressed. I mean, you know what I mean? So I'm just saying. It's, no disrespect. I don't look down on strippers or nobody, but this is what it is. In 10 years, I can potentially be with you. Probably not, because I'm not attracted to antagonists. I'm attracted to God in man. So maybe if you change your perspective in terms of trying to antagonize me and try to use your ability to communicate with me in these spaces to inspire me, then we would be having a different conversation. But the fact that you get off on antagonizing me lets me know that you're not qualified. Peace to you. Much love for the super chat. I appreciate you. It's about time to see you in a new hairdo. Yeah, this is okay. So is that a sad face or a happy face? Okay, that's a upside down happy face, right? This is a new hairdo because it's growing out. You can see in the back here. This is how you know right here. Okay. So I'm growing it out, and I'm switching gears because I'm ready to bring my ponytail back. I'm gonna grow my hair out super long so I can wear a ponytail again. Yes, Brother Jamil, striving to be a true and living God, because what else is there, right? Peace, Ra. Salute, ZaZa. Scorpio gang in the building. Tell these men to read Montauk Chia before you drain your skeeter, and make sure your chi. He says skeeter. That's funny. And make your chi raker stronger. I'm assuming. Know what I'm talking about. Stay up, queen. Yeah. And what you brothers don't realize is that you will get so much more attention and respectful attention from females, because they're not used to engaging with men that know that are sexually disciplined. They're not a beautiful woman. It's a rare thing to be amongst men and somebody not try to hit on them. You know what I mean? So you actually will get a lot more attention and from higher quality women, the women that you guys say don't exist. It's always fascinating to me when I spend my time talking to you guys, and then they end up in the chat room talking about how all women ain't this, and this, when I am not a perfect, but an actual representation, sitting here sharing my time and energy with you. That always just, fascinates me. But salute, I appreciate you for that. And yeah, the brothers, take note. You want to acquire or attract a higher quality woman, try sexual discipline. Don't do it, brothers. I used to be a doorman, security, bartender, DJ, etc. as a young person at an illegal club, hanging with old school pimps and players, gamblers and madams. Never date strippers. Okay, so he said it. You know what I mean? I know a couple of brothers that have that same sort of, that's their modus operandi. They do not date strippers, and they definitely don't date women who were active in the prostitution lifestyle. And for me, I could never date a stripper. I had a man ask me, he was bisexual, if I would ever date a bisexual man. No, because there is something in you that either now or at one point or another was attracted to men, and that is just a need and a field that I cannot satisfy. Not to mention that there's a portal open, and you have to be a very high vibrational being to close that portal, particularly as a man. But that pendulum swings both ways, male and female, right? So that whole bisexual energy, you're sexually fluid. I'm not. I'm very sexually selective. You know what I mean? There's nothing fluid about bisexuality. You know what I mean? So great point. I was the kid the old gangsters took in. People choose that street life. Yeah, much love. I appreciate that insight. Oh man, I lost my place. Damn it. Hold on, guys. Okay, here we go. I'm almost there. Just catching the live now, but your triggers and anxiety video is so insightful. It's going to help so many people, myself included. Thank you so much for saying that. And I've mentioned that video a couple of times because of the type of responses that I got. And you know what was the sort of glue behind that? The power behind that was the vulnerability. This is a superpower for women in particular. The vulnerability, because all I did was talk about my life experience and how I've alchemized those circumstances and those experiences, right? So for women where we have, we've had to be chin up, chest out, figure it out, strong because the conditions require it, not because we want to be strong, but because the conditions require it. Again, you guys meaning whom it may concern, you're putting the cart before the horse when you're like, oh, we don't want strong women. Okay, well, create environments where women can be soft. Otherwise, stop talking to me. And I'm saying that tongue in cheek, you know what I mean? Because women do need to be more soft. And that's been leaning into my divine feminine has been a very strong sort of, experience that I've had over the last 2 years, right? But I'm just saying, the vulnerability is a superpower. And when I'm vulnerable like that, it does tend to have that type of impact. So I'm giving myself permission, even with this video now, to be more vulnerable and to be more open about, my experiences. So thank you so much for saying that. I really, really appreciate that. This world keeps us in fight or flight. That's why they try to keep us in the house away from nature. That's also why they're trying to create 15-minute cities. Like what? How can you tell God to stay in a 15-minute environment when the planet is 196,940,000 square miles? Who are you talking to? How can you tell somebody who is striving to be in God consciousness to stand 6 feet away from another human being, or they can't go to the beach, or they can't walk in nature, or they can't go to the park? I beg your pardon. And humanity just falls for this shit, hook, line, and sink. No, I was naturally born a rebel for this purpose. This is why I'm so rebellious, because no, I don't think so. Childhood instructor in CVS about a decade ago, he told me he returned from Texas to get a fugitive. He lifted the jacket between him and the guy beside him. They were cuffed together. Well, that's interesting. Yes, the walking meditation, knowledge, know the ledge 360 piece. I'm wondering if that's knowledge born Allah. Maybe, I don't know. I know you do extended water fast. What's the longest you went for? And do you find meditating to be more intense while fasting? The longest I've done a water fast is 7 days, and I had to break. I could have gone at least 10 days because I wasn't hungry, but I can't really work out when I'm fasting. And I want to get too slim because I'm tall. And so, I ain't trying to be walking around looking like olive oil from Popeyes, right? So I didn't want to get too slim, but I also didn't want to fall off my workout regimen. But 7 days, no food, just water and tea was the longest that I've gone. But I had to make myself break that fast because I was in such a high and lofty space. It's the physical thing, but then it's also my mind is lofty, right? So I've done lives before where I'm fasting and my brain is like, right? It's just like operating super fast and super swift. And you know what I mean? So I always tell people, like, listen, I'm fasting. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know where this is gonna go, but just bear that in mind with me. So it's harder for me to like create, let's say, a headline news episode. If I'm fasting for 7 days, the idea of me sitting down and speaking for 2.5 hours about the things of this world is damn near impossible. I can't do it. My mind does not want to talk about, you know, Donald Trump and him building a golden dome over America and what's happening in Palestine and, you know, what's going on in the motherland, or, you know, like all the stuff that we have to talk about that's going on in the world. When I'm fasting, my mind is like, fuck out of here. I don't want to, well, not that obviously, but it's my mind, my spirit rejects it, you know? So I still have to be in this world. I still got work to do. I still have things to do. So, but when I can afford to just completely take the time out and zone out, it's the best thing ever. And my fast, the whole fast is a meditation for me. When I lay down and go to sleep, I'm observing how I'm thinking. I can only sleep 3 or 4 hours. I can't sleep a long time. When I wake up, I'm observing how I'm feeling. When I go outside, I've told you guys before, when I did my first 3-day fast, I just did it cold turkey by myself. It wasn't difficult. I just said, I'm going to do it. And I did it. Right. And this when I was heavy in my eat to live, you know, perspective. I was 20, maybe 2021. And so I'm driving, I'm on day 2 and I'm driving on 580 in Oakland. And you know how the highway is lined with trees, right? I started noticing the trees looked like, if you think about the matrix and the numbers that, you know, that matrix symbolism where the numbers, the computer numbers are going up and down, that movement, right? I started noticing that type of movement in the trees. It was like I could see the energetic resonance and vibration in the trees, and it freaked me out, right? In a good way, but it was like I was seeing the kinetic energy and the vibration in the trees as I'm driving down the highway. And at that point, I was locked in. When I saw that, that was my first fast ever. Cold turkey, did it on my own. Nobody else did it with me. When I saw that, fasting after that was a no-brainer for me. If I'm in a bad space, let's say I start my fast on Thursday and I end it on Sunday. Well, the Monday before the fast, right? Let's say from Monday to Thursday, I'm in a bad space. Something pisses me off, or something goes wrong, or things don't go right for me. I don't fast when I'm in a bad space, because the fast is going to magnify whatever your dominant vibration is, right? So that's something else that I'm keen about. Like, I got to build myself up in terms of projection and what I'm expecting in this fast. If I want to manifest abundance, if I need clarity on a decision, if I'm stressed out about something, and yes, I can be stressed out and set the intention like, nah, I'm cleaning all that energy up during this fast. So now I've set an intention, even though I've been dealing with stress, my dominant vibration now is, yeah, but the intention is for me to come out on the other side of this at peace or clear, right? So there's a lot of different layers to it, right? But for me, my fast is an active meditation the whole entire time. That's how I perceive it, and that's how I, experience it. And when I do intentionally, like, just sit down to meditate, yes, it is definitely more powerful and more intense, because my body hasn't eaten. You know what I mean? I haven't been doing a lot of physical activity. I'm like way more present in a different type of dimension than I normally would be. Much love. I appreciate you for the super chat. Do you think marijuana is hindering our community? Yes. And particularly the genetically modified marijuana, which look at the timeline of them legalizing marijuana in California. As California goes, so goes the nation. The anti-California hate is a real thing. You could take that and, put that wherever you want to put it, because it's a real thing, and I've seen it all my life. But the timing of opening up and legalizing marijuana in California was very intentional to neutralize the warrior spirit, aka gang culture in California. And it has absolutely done that. There's a dispensary on every other corner in LA. And I'm sure it's probably like that back at home in Oakland now. There was a lot of dispensaries in the Bay, but I haven't been back home in a minute. So just to go back and look at it now versus where it was like a couple of years ago, I'm not quite sure. But in LA, there's a dispensary on every other corner. And mind you, it's a hybrid genetically modified version of weed. So we got to get into the semantics of how they even use the science and the technology to create that, right? It's a similar technology to the genetically modified foods, right? So I don't want to get into the science of it because that's not the question you asked, but neutralizing the warrior spirit and the warrior energy with the mass legalizing of cannabis was a very intentional thing. Now, does organic, authentic marijuana, is it, that there is a potential to use the plant in a way that increases and embellishes creativity, in a way that helps us with meditation, that helps us being centered, that helps us come to the center and be at peace. But most of our people are not using it in that regard. So the answer to your question is absolutely yes. I simp for God. I don't even understand that. God would not ask you or require or want you to be a simp. My brain doesn't compute that type of comment. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. Maybe it's a typo. If it is, then please clarify. You know what I mean? Because yeah, simp and God don't go in this, don't belong in the same language. God does not want or need you to be a simp. On the contrary, king would be a more appropriate, if anything. Male sexual control and discipline is so attractive. That's what I was telling them, sis. Like, seriously, they do not understand. I try my best to train myself not to look at women who walk out the crib unclad and undraped, unclocked in 1970s working girl Saturday night on Sunset untapped. I mean, it's a process. We all love beautiful things. Men are naturally attracted to the female body. So I get it. It's just a matter of, controlling your lower nature. Look, but don't, it's one thing to look and admire. It's another thing to, now you in a whole different frequency and mindset. Now the lust-based energy is turned on. Now you're trying to find something new to rub up on, pause. But I'm just saying, admiring beauty is one thing. You know, being led by your lower nature in response to beauty is a different thing. Hey Zaza, I don't think I've ever heard you speak on Chat GPT. What do you think about it? Do you use it? I have never used Chat GPT, not once. I don't use it, but I am a researcher. So for me, I'm about retaining information. I'm not just looking for an answer. I'm looking for the right answer, and I want the answer to stick to my ribs. So if I go the extra mile to do the research myself, instead of just asking a question and getting the answer, the probability of me retaining the information and understanding the information goes way up, right? Plus, I am always intentionally challenging my brain. When I watch movies, I have captions on because I'm listening, but I'm also reading. That's like a brain exercise for me, right? That's what keeps my mind sharp. So I'm an avid reader. I just like knowledge. I like information. I like to understand things. I like the metaphysics of things. I don't want to just ask a question and get an answer. That doesn't resonate with me. Now, I know that AI is being used in different aspects of my business, from my website to Canva. I use Canva a lot. StreamYard is for sure, YouTube, the algorithm. AI is sort of infiltrated or embedded in everything. So I'm not anti-AI at all. It's the technology is good for what it's good for. It's just a helpmeet to me. We start talking about AI is going to be ruling and controlling everything, I beg your pardon. That shit's not that impressive to me. It's just a synthetic version of what we are capable of if we're operating in our highest and best, consciousness. So I've never used it, but I understand why people use it, and I think it's as long as you're still thinking for yourself and challenging yourself and, asking, not just asking a computer questions, but like seeking knowledge. I'm a knowledge seeker. So Chat GPT can give me an answer, but it can't give me knowledge, right? I'm a knowledge seeker through and through. I always have been. That's why it's not attractive to me, because I want to find the fake, I want to see the lies I want to find the fake websites. I want to see what the liar said. I want to see what the truth teller said. I want to see what the person in the middle is. I take all that information and then I come to my own consensus, you know? So yeah, it's just not that attractive to me, but that's not to say that I won't use it eventually. But for me, I am an analog girl in a digital world. You know what I mean? Like I'm with the research, I'm with the reading, I'm with the doing the hard work and going the extra mile to get the answer to the questions that I'm pursuing, you know? Maybe I'm leaning too much on my lower nature balance. Well, yeah, I mean, you answered the question. I don't know if you're asking me a question or you just wanted to state that based on what we're saying here. But if you want to pose a question, I don't want to assume what it is that you're saying. But if you said maybe I'm leaning too much on my lower nature, that's probably you telling yourself that you're leaning too much on your lower nature, you know? Well, if I was attractive, I would be attracted a woman by now. Yeah, that's, you know what I mean? These sound like things that you need to ponder and pontificate for yourself. Who says attractiveness is only what you look like? It's not. I promise you it's not. Especially, when it comes to, well, I can't speak for men, but I know for me, a fine man is a wonderful thing. I can pay homage and look at you, oh, you're beautiful, oh, you fine, or whatever. But like that's not going to reel me in, especially because a lot of times the way these females be, super thirsty nowadays, to me, that's like, okay, what else is there? Because I know you get a lot of attention for that. So let's step away from the thing that you're getting all the attention for and let's get to the nitty gritty. Like, what's the last book you read? Who's your favorite author? What's your spiritual vantage point or perspective? Do you eat pork? You could be as fine as all outdoors. If you eat pork and got a white Jesus on your wall, it's not really much for us to talk about. Maybe we could be friends. I don't know. You know? But yeah, it's way bigger than just physical attraction. I'm reading the chat, you guys, so just bear with me for a second here. I'm almost at 2 hours, so I'm gonna let you guys go in just a minute. I just want to tap in and make sure I got to everybody's. Okay, you were responding to somebody else, so I'll let that ride. Um, have you ever been to the Black Panther building in Oakland? Yes, I used to live on MacArthur Boulevard, right off of 85th, I think it was, before our house burned down. And I went to Hope Academy, which is the school right next to Castlemont. It was an all Black private school. I don't know if it's still all Black, but it was a private school when I went there from preschool up until the 5th grade. But those were our stomping grounds, all up and down Foothill, all up and down MacArthur. So yes, I have been there many times. You got to be careful with your connections. I'm not buying dispensary weed, period. I feel you on that. I don't believe in vegetables anymore. Okay. Powerful comment. I don't know. I believe intention with anything you intake makes a difference. Facts. Gina said, in my years on this earth, I personally haven't met many disciplined men. Yeah, well, that's speaks to the quality of the mindset, and I'll be more so focused that on our grandfathers and our fathers, our uncles, and the men that were supposed to be training up the men that are amongst us right now. So let that be a message to all of the brothers that are actually listening to this. Like, yeah, you need to step your game up in terms of your discipline, not just with sex, but with alcohol, with weed, with whatever, anything that has a hold on you or that's leading you by your lower nature. Oh, she said I have met a few, but not many. Okay. Shout out to Kobe Bryant. Yeah, rest in peace. Definitely. Y'all know I was a big Kobe Bryant fan. I lost my luster for sports some time ago, but I used to be a major, major, major basketball fan. I was a major Kobe Bryant fan. Like, I used to set my watch around the Lakers games. And born and raised in Oakland, I was always a Warriors fan, but I was always a Lakers fan. And because me and Kobe were pretty much the same age, as I was growing up, he was growing up, and I just, saw him go from a hot-headed, cocky, young, I think I'm the best player on the court, to like really evolving to being one of the best, if not the best player of all time. So much love always for Kobe. I cannot begin to tell you how much I shared the book. I started to do a homeschool class with it with high schoolers. Much love. I appreciate that. And you are exactly, that is the exact reason, the initial reason why I created that book, for that exact reason, because I know if you are paying attention to what's going on in the world as a parent, you should be trying to create a homeschool environment for your child if you haven't already. Homeschooling pods where parents can come together in a community setting and sort of take turns with the responsibilities and whatnot. There is no possible way my son could be in school right now, elementary school in particular, and I would have him in public school. Absolutely no way. And when he was in the second grade, I think I had to check one of his teachers because they were reading a book about two boys. Mind you, my son is a young man now. Okay, so when he was in the second grade at one of the best public schools in Oakland, I had to check the teacher in the parent-teacher conference meeting because she told me my son laughed out loud when they were reading a book. No, not reading a book. One of the children in the school had two dads. And so there was a conversation being had. And then come to find out there was also a book that was read about two teddy bears who were married, two male teddy bears who were married. So it was the book plus the conversation about the other. I think Nassim laughing made her go get the book and read it to kind of like, make the other child feel better. I didn't know anything about this, right? So she's telling me this. And at this time, Nassim is like walking around the classroom, he's not really tapped into our conversation because he's probably bored, ready to go. When this comes up, I'm like, Nassim, come sit down, right? Because I need him to hear me check this woman, right? So he sits down. I said, I'm gonna tell you what happened. My son had a natural reaction to an unnatural situation. Now let me teach you about what I teach my son in our household, so that every time you read a book with two male teddy bears or, et cetera, you can understand what is going to be, what is being implemented and taught to my son, so you can have a proper understanding on how to deal with him next time. And what you really can do, what I would prefer that you do, is just to have my son leave the room. So, it turned into that. And then eventually it came back down because I know how to deal with people in a non-combative way, but still be able to get what I want. But he was in the second grade at that point. So I'm saying all of that to say there is absolutely no way my son would be in public school right now. I would absolutely be homeschooling him. It just is what it is. So that was the initial intention behind that, And I told you guys my next textbook is going to be Black Legacy. And I'm focusing on our people here in America, 100-year history time period of us here, the best, the brightest, the most beautiful. But then we're going to also give white people the proper credit that they, that they seem to be trying to navigate and circumvent in this hour. No, yeah, we're going to make sure that we keep our history books pure. I am officially an aficionado at creating history textbooks, and that is something that I'm going to continue doing in the forthcoming years. I have taken on that responsibility, So you saying that means everything to me, and I'm still working on the parent-teacher complement to the textbook, because it's going to have additional worksheets, additional coloring pages, and also resources that will be connected to my website with videos and other things, to sort of for the full curriculum, right? The textbook on its own is a full curriculum. And then you add the parent-teacher guide to it that now also is like, this is what you do in a classroom setting. This is how you started off. This is the assignment. Read these pages, do this, et cetera. But with additional question and answer pages, worksheets, coloring pages, etc. So thank you so much for saying that. That really, really, really means a lot to me. And I appreciate the super chat. Much love. Do you remember the Battle of Los Angeles? Do you think you can connect to the ships in the oceans there? I don't know what that is. The Battle of Los Angeles. I've never heard of that before. You'll have to school me on that. Testosterone is at an all-time low. Men are no longer men anymore. Yeah, and you brothers, stop putting them phones in your laps. Stop putting those phones in your pocket. I can guarantee you somebody listening to me right now has their phone sitting on their lap or in their pocket. That goes for women too, but That is one of the things that is shrinking your testosterone and decapitating, or I almost said retardation, but that's not the word, that is nullifying your sperm count. Stop putting those cell phones in your pockets. Women, stop putting the cell phones in your bra. And you know what I mean? Like those, it's emitting a frequency that is very dangerous to your health and well-being. One of 3% of humans born with an X located in a specific. Okay, I got you. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but thank you for sharing. I haven't watched basketball since Kobe died, and he retired after his passing. Yeah, for me, the Donald Sterling thing was the last straw for me. This white dude called the NBA players every N word under the book, and these dudes took off their jerseys and threw them down in the middle of the court, and then proceeded to play the game. I was like, I can't watch this shit anymore. I can't do it. I'm not built like this. And then during the pandemic, when they had the players actually still playing sports and football and basketball with fake audience members and fake applause, and you got to wear a mask while you're sitting on the bench, and then you take the mask off, and then you get up and go play, and then you play, and then you come back. That, I'm just not built for none of that. I don't play games like that. I'm way too rebellious for that. I'm going to be the person kicking the door in, starting the problem, saying something during the press conference that's going to set it off. I'm not wired for none of that. That was just way too weird for me. Can't do it. Nope, not playing around. Assalamu alaikum, Queen ZaZa Ali. Why is the physical fitness of professional athletes not connected to their worldview? Why is my cigarette so bad? Granted, big pharma history. I kind of feel like you're trolling me. As far as you have to ask professional athletes why their physical fitness is not connected to their worldview. I can't speak for them. I do know that that environment creates narcissism and, you know, arrogant people who are not connected to the communities that they come from, because they put them on such a high pedestal and pay them so much money and separate them from, you know, anything of substance and value in their culture and their people. That would be my direct answer, but I can't speak for them. In terms of why your cigarette is so bad, why are you even smoking cigarettes at all? I would imagine you would expect for me to respond like that. We having a heart to heart, soul to soul, God to God type conversation. We're trying to elevate into God consciousness. I'm not really sure. You know, the cigarette thing is throwing me off a little bit, but maybe that was a joke. I honestly believe more men are protecting their seed. I sure hope so. And daughters. I sure hope so. Now I see why you don't do these videos, because of these idiots. I get it. Yeah, public school in California is definitely different. But there, you know, this is something that's being so slowly implemented in all of the schools. You'd be surprised. You go into the library at your child's school and see what type of books are in the library. And it's like, oh, they don't have to read it, but why is it in the library? And I went in the library after that conversation, and there was a whole LGBTQ section of books. What? But for me, I took that as, oh, okay, so now you want me to teach my son this early. Okay, cool. This is a great learning opportunity for us. So when we got in the car, please, my son is game tight. You can't play them type of games. You know, at that point, my son was questioning his teachers about, like, you know, evolution. And my mom said, we didn't come from apes. Well, your mom doesn't know. My mom said she'll come into class and you know, that was my son. But don't be surprised if that, you know, you go into the libraries in these public schools all across the country, you'll see it. It's not just in California, but this is definitely where it started, right? My daughter is 31, but I was 100% involved in everything during those stages. Much love. I'm here for that. Find someone disciplined by their hobbies. I ride horses, motorcycles, and I'm boating now. I used to just mainly fish near the shore. I got mines out now, and I now meet actual boat people. Yeah, definitely, you got to have a hobby. Okay, family, I have given you guys. Okay, let me come back to you because I wanted to make sure. I'm not trolling you. Good answer. I've been smoking since I was 16. I'm 46 today. I went to the Million Man March and joined the Army at 18. Yeah, that's just, you know, the messenger said when somebody asked him, how do you quit smoking? And he said, just quit. That would be my advice to you. I'm going to leave you guys there. Shechem Rob, please forgive me. because I know you wanted to come and chime in the conversation, but I see you're not here with us anymore. Thank you so much to those of you guys who dropped the super chats. I appreciate the love and the reciprocity. That's all I ask for in these spaces, especially when you see what happens in the chat room and the type of energy and things I have to navigate. I would do these videos a lot more if I was getting reciprocity and you guys were supporting me. That's all I ask, because I put a lot into what I do, you know, and I give, this is my 2 hours of my time. So I appreciate the reciprocity. ZaZaAli.com is my website. I'm in LA, September 13th, live. I have 2 spots for 50% off consultations. The link for that is in the description. Climbing the ladder of yourself. Today is the last day. Email me if you want to get information on that. And I will see you beautiful people very soon. And much love to all of my members on YouTube, as well as the ZaZaAli.com website. All right. Peace. And thank you for the good questions. I get inspired by good questions. People ask me weird stuff, it throws me off, or dumb questions. I don't like that. But when I get inspired by, you know, mentally inspired people. So it's a reciprocity thing in that regard. So much love. And my Cash App is in the description for anybody that wants to drop some love there. And I will see you beautiful people very soon. Peace and love.